Hello and welcome to Nollywood Film Club. I am Mr. C, a Veruca critic. I'm sorry, I missed last week. I should have been back last week, but thank you for joining in. Thank you for listening to this. Hopefully, I haven't shamed you from the other podcasts here, but even if I did, welcome to this episode. I think this is a very interesting episode. We are going to discuss some interesting things around this topic. I enjoyed it. I wasn't the host. We had a lovely host in Vanessa who did a great job in hosting. I did join and I enjoyed the conversation and I'm sure you will too. So I hope you enjoyed Nollywood Film Club discussing genres in Nollywood.
Hello and welcome to Nollywood Film Club. My name is Vanessa, your incredible new host. We do this every Sunday. We discuss Nollywood topics and on occasion Nollywood films every Sunday at 6 p.m. What? If this is your first NFC, these discussions aren't like when we review films or we do the good, the bad, the ugly, we do summaries. It might have a bit of that today, but because this is a topic discussion, it's going to be loosely organized. We will allow for the conversation to flow in the direction that the speakers take it. So, our topic for today is Nollywood genres. This is going to, in my opinion, I think this is going to be some sort of anthropological conversation because when this topic came up, um, I and a couple other people had a similar question. What is a Nollywood genre? Does it even exist? And if they do, what makes a Nollywood genre a Nollywood genre? So that's where we're going to start this conversation off at. So our speakers, I would like to hear your thoughts on what a Nollywood genre is. So we're going to begin with Olanna.
Sorry, I just actually I
Oh,
don't want to start.
you don't want to start? That's fine. That's fine. Um, the critics were second. Did the critics want to go? The
Wow.
Mute him again.
No, it
Wow,
wasn't
wow,
even.
wow.
It wasn't even him. I muted. No,
Wow. Anyway,
no. It wasn't him. I muted. But yeah.
so you who is getting confused about genre. Genre is genre. Genre
I know me,
is
I'm confused though. I'm
why are
confused
you
because it's one
confused?
thing to say what is it, but to narrow it down to a Nollywood genre, what is a Nollywood genre? Do we even
It's
have one?
just genre. It's just genre. Don't it's not a what are we talking about? We're talking about the genres in Nollywood as Nollywood is basically Nigerian film. And we're talking
Okay,
about
but
the
this is the
genres in
question.
Nigerian films. Uh-huh.
Okay, so
So
what are the genres in Nigerian films? As
we
you
have
are not
plenty.
confused. Tell us.
We have epic, we have romance, we have rom-com. Those two,
We don't have rom com.
well,
We have rom-com and romance.
We
we
don't have rom com. We only have romance.
we are supposed to have rom-com
Does the gate man count as the comedy part of the rom com?
sometimes. We have
Drama.
drama. That is 99.999% all of our films.
Drama. We love drama.
We have horror.
True.
We have horror. We have thriller. We have jujufy.
We have crime.
We don't have sci-fi. We have
We
jujufy.
have jujufy. We have crime. We love
Oh,
crime.
we do. Yes. That's Kemi
That's
Adetipa.
Kemi. Yeah,
Shout
Kemi
out.
was shout out to Kemi, the mother of Nollywood crime genre.
Crime.
Modern
Small political drama. Although
wedding.
with wedding is genre.
Wedding is a genre. Wedding is a genre.
But can
Separate
you
from
guys see how we have genres that are not the typical genres? Wedding is a genre. Wonderful.
wedding is a genre.
That's interesting. With I do agree. Like with a wedding party is not a genre. That's just due to a lack of imagination. To be honest, from our people, it was not supposed to be. Look at this. But yeah, we have genres.
fine, whatever you say. So what makes a Nollywood genre a Nollywood genre?
It's something we used to do in Nollywood,
Is
I
a
guess, and
genre.
we do enough of.
Okay. I'm going to go to Uchenna. Maybe Uchenna has a different thought on what a Nollywood genre is and what the Nollywood genres are.
1 second before we go to each other, I'm just going to say Chalugo is turned into a genre.
Oh god.
Sorry,
Ha!
it's not to create genres.
Odogu Ko. Okay, I will write down Odogu Ko as a genre for us. Odogu Ko. All right. Uchenna, please. Can I hear your thoughts on what Nollywood genre is and what they are, in your opinion?
Well, it's difficult to qualify exactly what is a Nollywood genre as opposed to a genre in general. But I think that it is clear that the public perceives that certain genres are specifically Nollywood and some aren't. For example, like when we were having movies like The Black Book and Gangs of Lagos, Brotherhood, and things like that, you often found people complaining, saying that we're trying to copy the West. There was the idea that um, action movies, for example, are not a Nollywood genre, that there's something about it that is just inherently foreign, that it's not, when there was that whole debate about why don't they just tell authentic Nigerian stories, what they were really saying is they want the Nollywood genres. I think Nollywood genres are, to some degree, defined by a certain continuation of values, a certain kind of value that has persisted in Nigerian culture through various media over the years. Like even before there was a Nollywood, a lot of these Nollywood stories could be found in Nigerian tabloids. And before the tabloids, you would find them in the Onisha pamphlets. And before that, they were on radio shows. There's just a certain kind of Nollywood genre that I think is often informed by a certain kind of religion or morality. Uh, I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah, I don't know. I'd say that one when I think about Nollywood genres, one of the most fundamentally Nigerian genre is what I often take pleasure in describing as the hardship movie, and that is a movie that sort of um, aestheticizes suffering, usually by a female protagonist with some kind of reward coming at the end. I think that is the fundamental um, Nollywood genre, the hardship film.
Thank you, Uchenna. And I kind of agree with you that public perception plays a huge role in what determines what becomes a Nollywood genre. And the concept of you know, telling authentically Nigerian stories kind of sort of ties into that. But also, I don't think but this is a whole different conversation. I don't think the argument during that was that certain genres aren't inherently Nigerian. I think it's in the telling of the stories. It's not necessarily in the genre that's of the film that's been made. It's in the telling of the realities of the actualities of how these things are being made, and the storytelling. That's where the disconnect was, I guess. But yes, there is something that is tied to our morality and our culture that has continued to persist over a period of time and has resulted in this development of specifically Nigerian genres. And yes, your one genre is the one genre that I had down is poor girl finds rich man or poor man somehow ends up rich by the end of the film. We love a good grass to grace story, and grass to grace is a Nollywood genre. Olana, do you have thoughts now that you want to
Yes, I
share?
believe I do.
Wonderful.
Yes. Um, First of all, I think comedy is actually a genre in Nollywood. I don't know, like in general. Comedy, drama, they are genres in Nollywood, and I don't believe action isn't a genre. I know we don't do action like the way the way the Americans do the action and stuff like that. And when we do it like Americans, it kind of comes off as unoriginal, I guess. But we have done genre, and I mean, I'm talking about Nollywood over the years, not Nollywood in the last 6 to 10 years. But in general, these are the genres that I feel we've had certain what do they call it? We've had certain we've had movies about, or we've had, like, to some extent, success with it, because there were older movies that were action in Nollywood, like from the 90s and from the early 2000s. So I think that action counts as a Nollywood genre. And then there is the what was I call, yeah, the whole trauma genre. There's like a trauma genre, and this is not just what do they call it? This is not just grass to grace, but there's a whole let the woman suffer genre in Nollywood that Tyler Perry would be so proud of. And like, we've had that over the years. So I feel like this is also a valid genre in Nigeria. Like, she has to suffer. It's in the culture. It's in the culture, and it's part of our reality. So it's something that we are very okay with. And then there's this new genre, like within the wedding genre. Yes, there is a wedding genre, but there's this what will I call it safe? Like the limitation of the Nigerian. I guess that there's the whole trying to be trying to show differences, but there's the Wazobia genre, in the sense that there is an exclusion of the over 200 other ethnic groups whenever we are trying to tell a quote and unquote Nigerian story. And it's giving, God forgive me, but it's giving. I don't know if you guys used to watch those the Hollywood movies, the Hollywood movies within the 2000s, that they would have that like token black friend, or that random redhead that is just there to show diversity, but it doesn't really show the true diversity. So the Wazobia genre, it just annoys me, because first of all, it's more of a Wabia genre, and then sometimes they just throw in the zoo part of it, like, okay, yes, there's that one. And then a far cry when they really want to go far, you start seeing maybe the Efik, maybe the Ijo, the BPO, but that's really as far as it goes. So there is that genre in Nollywood. I don't know what that's about, but I really need that genre to kind of expand. Because that genre annoys me so much. I need it to expand, because every single time I'm watching Nollywood, I'm like, God, man, there's so much more. You guys should, even in the zoo, there is no proper exploration of the zoo, because what do you mean you can't even find new pay characters? Okay, like, you can't find, there's the Doma, there's the thief, there, there's the go, there are so many, and there's just, it's kind of lazy, is why I don't really like that genre, but it also exists to show that Nigeria is kind of diverse. It's just the diversity genre, but it's not really diverse. So yeah.
Thank you, Olana. And to be honest, at this point, I don't know who's gonna write characters. The your issues with the Wazobia has been explored by uh Lohi, who is an aspiring filmmaker and specifically chose to name her characters. One of the lead in her short film was Edo, and the girl was from Benue State. And to be honest, I love to see it, because as a Benue babe, we deserve representation, guys. Representation matters. Representation matters. I would like an Igede babe. And sorry, even among when they try to do a sprinkling of the minority tribes, they still choose the majority tribes from said minority states. There's always a thief. Why is he a thief person? Why are they thief and Idoba? Why can't it not be a Igede girl? And Igede girl and Igede man, please. But I do agree that the Wazobia genre is a bit, funky. Which, and before I let you go a second time, oh, people have their hands up. Okay, Onyika, I'd like you to just go give us a breakdown of some Nollywood genres that you think are.
Okay. As everybody was, I came late, so I really want to. I was thinking about. I really can only think about, like, in terms of eras in Nollywood. There is the bronze girl genre, right? The one where I won't say Bronze Corner, but it's the genre of like new things, Blackberry Babes, or there's I think there was an iPhone Babe thing. So those genres is right there too. Not saying that there can be good stories in them, but that is there. Um, there is the there was a time in the 2000s that there was like the more complex sort of love story genre in like in Nollywood where they always had the I call it Titanic drama genre, but it's not when I say that I mean about like the
Like a romantic tragedy.
romantic tragedy, but it doesn't because in Nollywood we don't do tragedy. We don't
It
do
still ends up happily ever after at the end of the
yes,
tragedy.
it ends up being a dream. So like or something like that. Yeah. There is there is the village prince ones, right? The village Cinderella stories. That one genre is there. Oh, there is not so much. Uh there's also the family problem drama. Like there's an issue with the family. That one is there. And my favorite, my one that I love, that we it is the mother-in-law interfering genre, you know? The one where they must always bring a wife from the village. Um they have different stories. All the genre have different stories and other stuff, but there is commonalities within them. Is that there is some action, which is the court drama. We don't have guy like the court campus drama. That one is there. Um, the robbery, yes, definitely the robbery one. I wouldn't necessarily say it's an ice drama. I think people were watching a lot of American something, and so therefore they bring in the heist one. But there is the forced to be a robbery, forced to be a robber genre. There's just so much. There's just so much. Oh,
Got a
how can we
final one?
forget? Yes, I can't say everything, but how can we must never forget this one. There is the Dove production, the evil world, the underworld drama
The
that 90s,
hmm
All
the
The
cults.
occult, yeah.
Karashikas, that one, those ones, the Karashika tribe of the very specific is about like cult
Occultic films, yeah. We've got it.
older, not caught in like older kind of like people who are giving sacrifice to be rich,
Mm.
like out of they've gone out of university. These are men that have some survive and all these
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah.
So that type
The
one
Billionaires
too.
Club of the World, yes.
Yes, that one too. That one genre. It's
Thank you, Oyeko.
yes.
Uchenna, you had your hand up for a minute there.
Oh yeah. I think I just wanted to follow up on something that you were saying about the Wazobia drama and the
Mm-hmm.
Wazobia genre and how you appreciate the representation. And I just kind of wanted to throw the question out whether people really like this, because sometimes I'll admit it makes me feel funny. I mean, on one hand, I appreciate the attempt to um, represent the ethnic diversity in Nigeria, and the fact that we use actors from various ethnicities playing ethnicities that are not their own. It kind of shows us, I feel in a way it kind of instills the message that our tribal differences really don't mean anything. But at the same time, sometimes it takes me out of the movie, because there's some actors, like when I remember I saw one movie where Shafi Bello was playing an Igbo woman, and I'm sorry, I didn't buy it. Or if you take someone like Onyi Alex and she's playing Yoruba, no, I do not buy it. There are a lot of times. I mean, on one hand, I feel that our tribal differences and our elevation of them to such importance is actually the fundamental problem of Nigeria. And I wish that we could get to the point where we view difference in tribe the way that people in Europe view difference in eye color or hair. It's just not that deep. But in a way, it is deep, you know.
In a way, it is deep, and I
Yeah.
agree with you. It does feel, what's the word I'm going to say?
Did you say the word? I cannot hear anybody.
Yeah, what happened?
I
Yeah, I
can't
can't. What
hear
Guys,
happened?
Elon
Vanessa.
kicked me out.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Oh,
Okay, because I was like, you in a way, and I was like, did you say the word?
Elon kicked me out, guys. Oh my days. I was about to go. Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. This is what happens. And Mr. C is laughing at me because he's like, I'm not here. Um, but yeah, what I was gonna say is that it does feel like an offhand throwaway thing when we do try to do this, diversity representation, and there's no care given to it. There's no care given to the character being from a different tribe. If you're saying I have no qualms with an actor playing a character who's a different tribe than they are, but if they're willing to give, unless they're willing to give the commitment to actually learn, if it's learning the language, if it's learning, the mannerisms, the things that make a person from a
Yes.
certain tribe, if they are influenced by their tribe. But we don't give, the problem is we don't give that amount of care, basically, even just on a basic level. Forget diversity, to our characters. On a basic level, we don't give that level of care to develop our characters to the point where we care about where they're from and if that has an impact on the person that they're playing. None of that. So again, it just feels like, yeah, throw away, collect, collect type diversity, right? Like, case in point, if someone's gonna play an Igede character now, I'm gonna need them to learn certain things about the language. There's a specific way, most Igede people somehow if they don't speak Hausa, they speak Yoruba because they emigrate a lot for work and do all of that. If you're gonna do something like that, you've got to find out the intricacies of these tribes if you're not familiar with them. If you're gonna, give a character to play that, but we don't give that level of care to the character, so it does feel like a throwaway addition, and sometimes comes off as even more insulting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One other thing I want to add is I just want to add on to what was said about the Runs Girl genre. In some ways, I
Hmm.
feel that the Runs Girl genre is kind of fundamental to Nollywood too, because when you think about the first official Nollywood movie being Glamour Girls, that was the beginning of that. I tend to think of Living in Bondage as sort of proto Nollywood, and that was obviously the beginning of the money ritual genre. So these things are very deeply rooted right in the beginnings of Nollywood.
Yeah, I do feel there's some foundational Nollywood genres, the Runs Girl genre, the money ritual slash occultic genre that has the Mami Waters of the world and the, Serpent Girls of the world, Juju, and not Juju Fayo, Ijinle Juju, not Juju with science fiction, no, real life Juju, Juju as a character, Juju as a concept, foundational Nollywood genre, horror, specifically when Mrs. C was mentioning horror, specifically religious backed horror, you know the Evelyn Akpabios of the world. I think some
Yes,
I don't think I don't
Helen
think I don't I
Obabio,
don't think
yes, it
horror I
was
do not
very
think
good.
horror is a Nollywood genre, to be honest. Like when we watch things like, say, Madame Koi Koi, that attempted to do, you know, a more conventional and uh contemporary style of horror. I
mm,
mean, I'm not trying to say those movies were bad. I'm not trying to say they were good either, but they felt kind of new. I think the things that in the past called horror, that we called horror, were more morality plays that had certain horrific elements. But
yeah,
the point of the story was not to horrify
the
you per
horror,
se.
no, it definitely wasn't. Definitely
Yeah,
wasn't.
that's kind of the thing.
But that's
I,
not too different
I
from general horror films, there, in terms of sometimes, because sometimes like horror, yeah, I mean horror, the horror genre comes in obviously different flavors, and sometimes the point is to sort of horrify you into some. I mean, like they're always just a vehicle to tell some type of story or say a particular thing. So I don't know why we would exclude morality from the
Religious.
thing. Yeah, as one of
Yeah.
one of them. I just say it as part of it. But the thing I wanted to mention, I mean, aside from obviously the our standard Christianity genre, the I feel like this is almost like a subgenre of that, but it is Mount Zion. Mount Zion was its own beast. Mount Zion is its own thing. Mount Zion is
That's
its
the
own
one I
thing.
was talking about.
Ultimate Power 1 to 8. I remember, I remember, I remember doing the binging of that almost in one sitting. That's amazing. By the way, Richard, when you were talking about people playing other characters, I thought you were going to mention uh, Shola Shobowale playing an Igbo wife in Blood Diamond. That was funny.
Yes,
That was
I
actually
did want to
at first
mention
Yeah,
that was
that, but
funny.
I couldn't get the words out.
yeah, that
That
was.
was that was that was
Well,
hilarious. But
Shola
yes,
didn't get to do much in that one. All she had to do was even I don't even think even if they gave it to an Igbo woman, all they wanted her to do was cry in that movie. That's all.
Do you guys know how I look at that casting? I don't know if you guys watched Cinderella of '98, the Brandy Cinderella, where the the
They did theater style
prince's
brand
mother
blind
was.
casting.
Yeah, like I didn't really. That's probably why I didn't really think like the father was white, the mother was black, and the child was Asian. So that's how I looked at that casting. Like it didn't really matter to me as much because I was like, it's just because it's not like her character was like a major character. It was something that I personally could overlook. And considering the time again, I was like, I beg, let's if it works, it will. Let's just leave it there. I think looking at it now today gives us a different perspective, and that's another thing with film. Sometimes, like when you watch it, at the time, maybe you don't think much of it, but in future you watch it again, and you're like, wait, what were they actually smoking in this place? But yeah, that's how I look at that casting.
Wonderful. Thank you guys. So we've gone through our first section in 30 minutes. We've identified some genres, a whole host of genres, some foundational ones, some newly invented ones, some that we can trace their origins to specific films. The genre, the wedding genre, the Ron's girl genre. We there's some genres that are specifically, Nigerian. Oh, we've got one more person before we move on to the next section. M is just coming up as a speaker. Oh, she's still connecting. Oh yeah, there we go. M, any thoughts on some Nigerian genres, Nollywood genres?
Not really.
Okay, perfect.
Lots of questions though.
Oh,
And I wanted to piggyback of what Mr. C had said about Mount Zion, and then your pushback with Helen Fabio films. I personally think those are two different genres.
oh,
Because you watch a Helen Fabio film and you watch a Mount Zion film, and you cannot mistake the two. Their purpose is different. The way that they evoke fear is different. I think Helen. I don't know if I need to go into that, but I think Helen, for instance, is prioritizes evoking fear, but Mount Zion is really like, oh, this is the world that we live in. But my memory about all of this is blurry. I know for certain though that if I watch a Helen Fabio film and I watch the Mount Zion film, I would know immediately what I was watching, because the purpose of the filmmaking was very different. Even the style of the filmmaking was very different. I think also, for instance, Helen has an uncanny ability to make you root for the bad guys. And then at the end, it's like, to God be the glory. But like throughout the entire film, up until the like 12th minute, you're rooting for the bad guy. I'm rooting for Regina Askia as a baddie mother goddess in Highway to the Grave, even till the end, because there's no reason not to root for her. But then at the end, Helen is like, do you know what? This person is terrible, and to God be the glory. Anyway, my questions arising from that would be, what is a genre? What is a sub genre? Because Mr. C did say the word sub genre. What is a trope? And how does Nollywood allow us to separate these things? Because when I think about it, they seem a little blurry in my head. Um, Nollywood is very unique in its own way. I don't think we have action, for instance. I would argue that we don't have horror. It's a very specific taste that we have. Do we get to make up our own genres and deviate from like the standard Hollywood 6, 7, 8 genres, for instance? Like, what do these words mean when we're thinking about Nollywood? And do we have a clear line that demarcates them? Really is where I'm coming from.
very good question. And this was the type of question and answer that I was hoping that people would say, but Mr. C came and jumped down my throat and said there's genre. So thoughts. Olana has thoughts, please.
First of all, the difference between Mount Zion and Helen's genres. The difference between Mount Zion and Helen's genres are that one, to my understanding, first of all, Helen is just a Catholic church hater, as far as I'm concerned. So every time I watched anything she did, it was just, oh, let's whatever the thing was, however it was going to end. I just knew that the Catholic people were going to end up in hellfire. I was sure of that one. So Helen was just a hater of Catholic Church, and she, with her own movies, it had more of a horrific thing. Look, with Mount Zion movies, it gave me bland a lot of times. Like, and this is not from past memory, because I watched the Mount Zion movie quite recently during a trip, and it was one of those things they play for you to sleep inside the bus. So it was just this it was just this whole morality thing, but like it didn't really give horror in that sense. Like, I mean, hell, will make you scared of hell. Like, I don't know if you guys watch Rapture. Helen was really giving, I'm going to put the fear of God in you. So I feel like Helen's movies were more of we're closer to horror than Mount Zion's movies were to horror. And then with the whole genre thing, the whole Nigerian movies really horror, maybe in comparison to American movies. I don't know, Sha, but as far as I'm concerned, though, when I was younger, I watched all the horror movies that America had to offer, from the Jasons to the Freddys to the Candyman to the Ring. What's the name of that one? Safe, the one that the little baby came out of a television. So I watched them all, and I don't think I was as horrified watching those movies. I don't know. The horrors didn't really do it for me in America compared to maybe like the Nigerian brand of horror. So I still think that Nigeria does have horror movies that is kind of localized. So maybe the things that horrify that may count as horror to us, depending on the kind of depending, like, it may not count as horror to them, but I still feel like we had our own genre of horror, and then there was the American horror. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Any thoughts on genre versus trope? Are we allowed to blur the lines in Nollywood? What does that mean?
See, I
I
think
We
personally,
don't
I
have
I
think
pers-
I
lines.
understand it completely.
We
I
don't have lines in
Sorry,
Hollywood.
Onyeko had her hands up, guys. Sorry.
um personally, I do not think there's lines between genres. I think it's just a way of pattern organizing that people have to make it more easier to sort of sort patterns of stories together. There is really, in actuality, because every story takes as different elements of every genre. It's not just something that Nigeria does. People say, oh, Korea all the time always mix genres, but so do American movies all the time. So do everything. So in that's just the way it is. It was always from the very beginning, always mixed up. You just
Okay.
have more pattern. So the answer is yes, we are allowed. It's not even you're allowed. That's just the way it is in
Okay.
actuality.
Thank you, Onyeko. Mr. C?
All right. Okay. I'm not the host. Obviously, the conversation can go anywhere it wants to go. Obviously, anybody can have the opinion they want to have. However, I am bored by the what is a genre. I find it a boring topic. What is a genre? Because everybody kind of knows what a genre is. Yes, there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. If I tell you, uh, what kind of film is what's the name of this film we watched, the Genevieve and the film we watched recently. Nobody's confused. Genevieve and RMD film I watched recently. Nobody's confused as to what genre that is, right? Okay, so tropes are small things that can live within genres. For me, I think it's there's there's something you can there's something worth exploring there, but those things usually live within genres or within different types of films. So I'm thinking something like enemies to lovers. I guess that's that's a trope, right? And which lives within the romance genre, right? And there's stuff like that that happens within, but like this, I get it, but everybody knows, and if not, we won't have words like genre blending and share the genre fraud. People use those words.
I'm yelling.
Use those words because they realize that sometimes, yes, sometimes it's messy. It's not to say that sometimes it's not messy and everything fits in cleanly, but we know we have love films. It's obvious. There's drama. Oh, well, something that a filmmaker pointed out to me, which is true, is that almost like everything else, like the base is drama, and everything else that spawns off of that is a different type of thing. But we know we have comedy films. We know we have political dramas, which is, again, that's a subgenre. That's something that spawns off just the drama genre. So there's, for me, obvious things that can come out of this, but I can't believe that nobody knows where that there's some films that clearly fit into a genre.
You are passionate. I was ready to. I was
Okay,
ready to move on.
let's take that
Not you
keeping faith.
throwing
No,
shade at me for allowing M to ask her questions. Onyeka?
let's take keeping faith for example, right? It's a romance drama. Is that what we're going to stick with?
Well, yes, it is.
Yes, it's a romance drama. Okay, let's even talk within the romance drama side too. It has multiple different things that also could. What type of romance? There's the romance drama of three friends. Like Sex in the City that has the three something friends, and we're going to follow each one. But you cannot, even though it has that in it, you cannot really completely say it is because we are focusing really majorly on one friend most of the time.
Mm.
It also has issues of, okay, it also could be, what's it called, a self-exploration um type of drama, because also we're doing the self-exploration of the main character trying to overcome our own internal sense of insecurity.
Mm.
And it
I
also
get you,
has a
Onyeko.
little
So
like,
it's a more. I
and
get
so
it.
I'm
It's a
just saying,
genre
even in
blending
something that is
film.
very clearly one that you can say that is very clear, it has elements of tropes that
Yeah,
lives in other genres in it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the
We
genre
we
was
we
never
agree
clear.
with you.
I'm
Sorry,
just
M
saying.
has her hands up. I want to move forward to the next bit, so I'm just gonna get M to say her thoughts, and then we will move on to the next bit, the bit that Mr. C wants us to talk about. Whatever. M.
Okay. Um, Mr. C's boredom. Yeah, pẹ̀lẹ́ o. But really, my question. I think, Mr. C, that you flattened my question, because my question had a very specific context, right? Wherein it was more, you had given, if you'd helped
Is it just me or
context, I
is
felt
M
clearer
cutting
to
off?
me. Instead, I felt like you brushed over it. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. And my concerns were really talking about these things. It's because I came much later on and I heard people talking about what they thought was a genre, and I kept asking myself, is that a trope or is that a genre, right? Onyeka mentioned Run Girls, and yeah, Run's Girls can be a trope, but when we're talking about Nollywood, Run's Girls is a proper itself. I believe that, right? The then how when we think about the word genre, it's not what the meaning of the word is. Subconsciously we know what it is, but it's one of those knowledges that we never quite question, right? And so we're walking in with our own biases and our very specific lens. And one of those lenses, for instance, could be that we're looking at, when we think about the word genre. We're looking at it very specifically through a Hollywood lens, which is why we now start to have the conversations. Does Nollywood have horror? The argument can be maybe we expand that lens to include the sort of horror that we have in Nollywood, or we make up our own brand new thing, right? That's the conversation that I'm having. I'm not having according to the Macmillan Dictionary, genre means this. That's not the conversation I'm having, right? I want us to, like, these are things we're taking for granted. What does it mean when we think about it in terms of Hollywood? Are we importing these ideas, or are we seeing it for what it is? Uchenna mentioned glamour girls. What is a glamour girl? What is glamour girls? What is it as a genre? What is it as a genre? Where does it fit? And it's also interesting to see you say, oh, for Nollywood, like drama is at the base. We can only say that because Hollywood, what's the word, demonizes melodrama. They don't want to see it. They don't want to think about it. It cheapens the film according to them. But melodrama is who we are. Melodrama is who Nigeria is and what Nollywood is. So you can't say that as a slight to Nollywood that it's at first dramatic. That's what it's meant to be. That's what it is. So do we need to reconsider how we think about genres when we think about Nollywood? Do we need to expand our already existing definitions? Like, that's the conversation I wanted us to have.
Thank you, M.
Just one to say, I didn't say that as Nollywood for Nollywood. Didn't say, I said base level for every film. So it's not actually just for Nollywood. The base for every film is drama, and everything else sort of spawns from that. So that wasn't a slight at Nollywood at all. Then if I recall the couple of the other things you're saying, I understand some sort of how, like, your confusion or your questions regarding the difference between Run's Girl as a trope versus Run's Girl as a genre. I think it's essentially something becomes a genre when a lot of people start making films around the whole thing, like the film. So Blackberry Babes is for me a film about a certain type of lifestyle. Like it's not just, in Blackberry Babes there is a Runs girl in it, and this is sort of this is the way her, like, story is going to go. It's not a piece of the thing. It's the whole thing, the whole movie. When the whole movie sort of it's almost without having thought of this for very long. A trope is basically, I would think, it's like at a genre is like trope at the film level, like at the higher level, that encompasses the whole film rather than like a character or specific character or something else. Maybe a I would say also a specific type of plot.
Yeah, there's quite a few films in the Runs Girl genre. There's White Hunters, there's the Blackberry Babes of the World. There's quite a number of films where the Runs Girl isn't just a character trope. It's the entirety of the film. But yeah. I think we're good to move on now. This is a bit more lighthearted. Can we talk about what we're gonna sort of go into our regular um programming where we talk about our goods? Well, this time our favorites. What are some of our favorite Nollywood genres? And if you can tell us why they're your favorite, what about them makes them your favorite Nollywood genres? Olana, you good to start off this time?
Sorry, can you
Sorry, I
repeat that?
didn't get the question.
The
Can you ask
the
again?
section we're moving on is favorites. Did you guys? Oh, Elon is messing with me. What are some of your favorite Nollywood genres? Why you like these Nollywood genres? What about them makes them your favorite genres?
Okay, so some of my favorite Nollywood genres are, I think I like the epics, but specifically I like in art I really like romance genres because I feel like a lot of it is poetic, you know. So I like the epics, I like the whole poor girl, what do they call it? Like poor maiden and the prince kind of because like when I used to watch it, even now I went back to watch some of them, and man, everybody was speaking so well and I was enjoying it so much, man. So yeah, that's one genre I really like. I like the whole epic, but the whole maiden meets the prince kind of storylines. And then another genre I enjoy when it is done well, not a lot of times though, but when it is done well, I think I like the action. Yeah, I like Nollywood action. I like the romance. I like I like the hot girls Nollywood genre. I really like the hot girls on specifically the ones that have like badly behaved women just thriving. Like the Mama G kind of movies, just women who don't necessarily subscribe to society standards thriving. Yeah, that's a genre I enjoy. So yeah, I think those are the ones like the romance, the action, I like the cult movies when they were when they were 18. I really enjoyed the cult movies when they were 18. So yeah, those are my genres I really enjoy.
Thank you, Olana, but I fear I may have led us astray. Um,
Please, can you clarify? I mean, not here well, I beg.
no, no. I'm sorry. Elon is frying my brain. The fact that Elon keeps kicking me out and messing me up has kind of fried my brain. So I'm going to readjust us in the correct direction. I may have led us astray a bit. Rather, I feel like choosing to focus on our favorites might be a bit reductive. And we can easily get through that. Instead, let's talk about the best and on an objective level, this time, not on a subjective things you like, on an objective level, what are the best Nollywood genres? Where do you think Nollywood thrives? What are the best Nollywood genres? I think that's a better use of our time.
That's interesting. I don't even think, Alan, do you want to go? Because
Olana,
I
do you
don't
No,
want
even
you
to
think
can
you,
you
do
can actually
over?
start. You can start.
I don't particularly disagree with a lot of. I think that's what something Alan has said with the epics is still. I think there's something that when we started doing it, a bunch of people who didn't know what they were doing just started copying it because obviously it was getting a lot of eyes with the general audience. But there's something that when you do the epics that forces us to abandon um, a kind of world that sometimes inauthenticity is very normalized in. So like sometimes when we start making dramas in the normal world, it sometimes you hear people, doing using interesting accents, using interesting lines that you don't often hear here that they've stolen from Hollywood. But like when you go into those epics, whether it be epic with adventures, by the way, epic adventure is there, or even epic romance, all of them. Whether you're doing either one, there's something about moving into a different world that forces everybody to, okay, well, we can't sound like this, we can't be saying lines like this, and it bred a little bit of authenticity for us, something that we relate to, and that's why if you ask a lot of Nigerians, they that's something that still tends to work for them. So yeah, my part answer would be I think epics, especially the early one, because like I said, a lot of people have copied since and just without a thought, and just a lot of the noise from other genres have crept into epics. But that's the one that I think, at least at some level, becomes a little bit more that connects more with Nigerians.
Not you stealing my one. I had epics as my one too. You're just a thief. Um, next is Uchenna.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question really.
The best Nollywood genres. What do you think works for us as an industry? What are the genres that we do the best?
I think that question is somewhat subjective, but when it comes to when it comes to what you say, what's work, I'm going to talk about what um what has worked internationally. Like, I think what put Nollywood on the map internationally was actually comedy, especially unintentional comedy in some cases, or maybe not even unintentional in a way. Some sort of like a kind of tongue-in-cheek, campy comedy. Like, I can remember the first Nollywood that people outside of Nigeria or Africa really started knowing was Aki and Popo, and then also movies like Beyonce versus Rihanna.
Or
So
Sofia in London.
yes, exactly. That was another one. So in terms of, I'm not a fan of Nollywood comedy at all, and I don't think it's funny by my own sensibilities. I would say in terms of its effectiveness in marketing Nollywood, I don't think anything has been more effective than comedy. And you can even see it in all the memes and stuff like that too. That's
Yeah,
what goes on.
yeah. And and I think that specific brand of comedy no longer exists in New
Yes.
Nollywood.
Yes, that's been one of my big complaints about the so-called new Nollywood, is that in the
Mm-hmm.
attempt to try to make movies that are viewed as real movies that have the
Mm-hmm.
production value and the kind of seriousness of purpose that people would associate with Hollywood movies. I think they let go a lot of the campiness that was really part of Nollywood's character. Like, I often
Mm.
compare it to Bollywood. Like, when we were kids, we used to laugh about Bollywood with their really outlandish special effects and their incongruous song and dance numbers and all these other things. But those are the things that make Bollywood Bollywood. And I think Nollywood, to some extent, really let go of some of its distinctly Nollywood texture when it went to cinema and streaming.
Yeah, yeah. And while a lot of the campiness was a thing, there was also we had quite a number of talented physical comedians during that time. They made comedy with their bodies, and I think that's another thing that's currently lacking in New Nollywood. But yes, so we have epics on the list. We have comedy as another of the genres that we think Nollywood did right. And I think for me, the kind of epics that I think we did was what was it called? Egg of Life type epics. Those ones that were
Eh,
like, those adventure type
Igodo,
ones.
Igodo, Ijele, Egg of Life.
Exactly. Those
Yeah.
ones that involved a journey, you know, and I think those epics were fantastic. Next, I think we have Onyekon, and then we have Olana. You sorry, before Onyekon goes, Olana, are you ready now?
Yes, I'm ready now.
Okay.
And I think another genre that actually worked out following was because I was going to mention using Uchenna's spectrum. Yeah, the whole idea of what worked for Nollywood and what put Nollywood on the map. Aside the comedy, we also had the drama, the whole mother-in-law bringing a new wife, just the general wicked mother-in-law thing, and that's why, and also the occultism, also yeah, it's just drama because all of these still they still fall under drama. I think these are the things that actually worked for Nollywood in the past. So these are the things that everybody could relate to, and that's why the people who became if you are using the people who actually became like big stars across the continent, and so we have the likes of Mama G and Pete Doche and Kana Yona in Sacrifice and all that. It's movies like that made these people. And I feel like what we missed in the new Nollywood with the whole aside just the comedy, but it's the authenticity thing. Is like because we are trying to export abroad, because it's crazy that we are now trying to export our movies abroad, and we are trying to export those movies. We are kind of stripping it of what makes us. We are stripping it of our own authenticity, so it doesn't quite connect to the original audience anymore. And that's what I think is actually missing in new Nollywood. Is like we are trying to export, but at the same time, like we had already exported, and instead of building on what had been exported, we were like, nah, let's put it aside and let's just do something that Becky with the good hair would be able to relate to, or would at least find tasteful. And that's the thing. Something when you're trying to export something that would that foreigners would find tasteful, you kind of remove what makes you you, and that's what we are currently lacking now. So if we can find how to merge the new with the old, and that's why sometimes I'm like bring out the old, because even with our action movies in the past, some people say the action movies that we have these days don't quite connect. But even with our action movies in the past, with this state of emergency kind of movies, and the action we had in the past, there are still things that you could say, oh yes, this could happen in Nigeria. Not these days that you're watching and then you're like, please, let's be serious. This is obviously not going to happen in Nigeria. So yeah, that's one thing. It's like we just exported, and then we were exporting what has already been exported, and in the end, we kind of lost who we were along the way.
Thanks, Olana. Onyeko, the best Nollywood genres?
I I think the personality, I do agree with everybody with saying the epics and the comedy. And I also do think that indeed some of the rest of Hollywood dramas too that can it's just the regular drama and the regular stories of like everyday Nigerians or things that actually happen in Nigeria. I think those two work well too. Because if we're talking about outside and we're not talking about like Hollywood, and we're talking about like the rest of Africa and even outside of Africa with like the Caribbeans and even Americans, maybe African Americans and all that stuff. Even other foreigners who are more cinephiles and like they're actual cinephiles and they're not like what's it called? The type of cinephiles that just want to be cinephiles for cinephiles' sakes. Um, those movies do well too. It's so I will tell you the type of movies that do not necessarily do well are the ones that literally seem to be copying. I mean, Nigeria.
Onyeko, we'll get to that section.
Okay, okay,
We
okay.
will.
But
We
but
just
okay,
wanna. We
yeah.
wanna. We
So those
wanna. Yeah. We wanna
those are the
streamline
ones.
this.
Those are the ones that that do well. The
Movie.
epics,
Yes.
the epics, because the epics, sure. Even the epics that don't make no sense in Nigerian history context. Hello,
Yeah.
egg of life. But it's a fantastical it's a fantastical epic. It's a fantastical epic, and that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
those works well. The comedy works well, and also the regular dramas, like the
Yeah.
ones about the family dramas, and the ones that shows like the context and lives of
Nigerians.
Nigerians. Those work
Yeah.
well.
Perfect. Thank you, Onyeko. M. Oh. Okay. Can we hear M, guys?
Hi.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. I was I had raised my hand earlier because you guys were talking about old Nolly comedies or slapstick comedies from before, and you mentioned something about it being dead. I did want to say that it's not dead, though. It's not dead. Uche Nancy is embodying it left, right, and center, single-handedly keeping it alive. Um, it will be Obio, just she's a reincarnation of somebody from somewhere. I don't know, but it's there. It's there. Mercy Johnson is also doing it with surprisingly what's this babe's name? The one that's married to the senator. Yeah,
Regina Daniels.
yes, Reggie baby. They're both still continuing it. So it's there. I think also the quality is still there because I can think of some films that I really, really enjoyed with that same style of comedy that are pretty recent. So the quality is still there, and it's still continuing. It's just not a thing we gravitate towards anymore as a consumer. We now want our wedding parties and the films that look like them, unfortunately. Anyway, my favorite genre would be
Or
would
the
be the
best
romance film.
ones.
the ones that we do best, yes, runs girls.
Yes.
But I need a better title for that, because it's not just about the runs girls. Like, yeah, there's some runs girls in it, but it's usually about more than that. It's about camaraderie. It's about solidarity amongst the women. Just it's about a little more than that. I want the better name. So it would be that. I don't think anybody, not even Sharon Stone, is doing a Sharon Stone as good as our Sharon Stone. No, nobody can touch it. So I would say that we do it really, 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 really well. Um, really well. Another sort of genre that I'm gravitating towards is what I will call our Odeshi genres. And I have to explain myself here. It's not about the magic. It's a little bit about the way that we approach action and just how unassailable our action stars are. So I'm thinking about something like Django. I'm thinking of we also like the history. Okay, I'm mixing. For me, that genre is a mix of a couple of things: the way that we approach action, the unassailability of our stars, and just the history behind it. So I'm thinking about End of the Wicked, no, End of the Road, End of the River, the Minwa Mama, and the Eze Bonafo film. Yes, I'm thinking about that one. I'm thinking about Django. I'm thinking about One Bad Apple. I'm thinking about State of Emergency. I'm thinking about, what else am I thinking about? I guess Isakaba. Yes, I'm thinking about Isakaba. So it's about the history behind it, and then there's also a little bit of action. But the point is not the action. The point is just Odeshi. They enter. That's another genre for me.
Love and Odeshi, the entire. I think the inclusion of random juju is also one of my favorite things, and every single film should have random juju thrown in there somewhere. I don't care, figure it out. Random juju sells. Um, I think we have a couple new people joined, so I think we have Emezi and then we have Obina. So Emezi, please, can you tell us what you think some of the best Nollywood genres are?
Okay. Hi. Thank you so much. Hi everyone. So my favorite genre, I think it's the best. I'm a musical kind of person. I like musicals, and for weird reasons, Nigerians they keep failing at it. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so hard for them to pull out the musical. But then my favorite genre, I feel like it's one of our best, is the soap opera, the genre where we have the what's it called? What are they? We have Super Story, Tinsel. I think so for some weird reasons, I don't know. I feel Nollywood, right? You think that they when they have enough time to create a film, they don't know what to do with it because when we watch, but surprisingly, when Nollywood's creators have enough time, enough enough screen time to create. They sort of create. I don't know how to explain this, but when I was watching Super Story growing up, I know how how every episode was a banger. You literally had to. We were so tight to our screen watching that thing. So yeah, I feel Nollywood do better when they have so much time to play with it, to play in this world, and they just create. Even when sometimes the characters are one dimensional, but even within this one dimensionalness, you still get a feel that is just, I think people were saying about the stepmother, evil daughter, those sort of one dimensional characters we always get from Nollywood. Even with that thing playing in those long run in soap opera, you still see in between those scene, right? You see like a shift. Sometimes the story goes in a different directions, and then you're like, "What am I watching?" And all of a sudden, you are back to what we are watching. So I feel when Nollywood have enough time, enough screen time, they sort of deliver. So the soap operas have always been, for me, the best genre that is out there. Um, and then there's the what's the there's one I do enjoy watching when I was growing. I think I don't know the romance, but it's not. So not the wedding. So I remember watching the wedding party, and I was asking myself, "This is some sort of like a genre because it's giving romance. It's romance, but something about the wedding party is just. I felt like it's another. It was just one of the best thing I've seen in television for a long while, and that should be romance. I think so. Yeah, but the soap operas are. I think they're one of the best
Yeah.
outstanding things that are out there. In other words.
Thanks, amazing. I think the reason why the soaps work as well as they do is I think that it is kind of a huge part of the roots of Nollywood. It's the melodrama, it's the constant twists and turns, it's good old family drama. You know, those things are inherently Nigerian, and I think that's why they work as well as they do. Thank you. Obina, we go on to you.
Hey, Vanessa, how's it going? Hey, guys. Yeah, so the question of what is the preference? What's the preferred genre for Nigerians? I think that and I think it's quite right. Emezi was speaking about soap operas. What I'll just do is trying to build some sort of a timeline so that I think it just to showcase you know how Nigerians are really what they've been watching and the sort of preferences they had. So for those of us who without necessarily revealing our ages, but in the 80s and then the 90s you had shows like Kokoro at Dawn, you had Behind the Clouds, you had Bassi and Company, you had Village Headmaster. And if you look at those the constructs of those shows, there were a lot of almost like telenovela style soap opera slash drama. And it was pretty much what we were about as a country, because society was really about family values. This is like where it is a military regime, so pretty much the family unit was very strong. Everybody was the sense of community, and it was reflected in what we were watching. And then the VHS revolution of the early 90s, from 91, 92, and you had films like, you started to see things like Living in Bondage, Circle of Doom, Eneka the Pretty Serpent, and that heralded Kenneth Okonkwo and co. That heralded the new generation of drama, essentially. And then you guys have talked about it, Igodo, Arrow of God, and all that stuff. So it was a mixture of both drama and then epic, and then we were stuck to our shows. And it's interesting to say that those we went from VHS then to DVDs. Those things actually traveled, so people would take DVDs, physical DVDs, and travel to America, to the Caribbean, and there was some level of distribution, because that stuff we're watching was being watched in other parts of the world. And I think that was the first time we're beginning to see hear about this phenomenon called Nigeria, the Nigeria film industry, before the actual birth of Nollywood. And then um I'm privy to know what happened, the phenomenon that has become African Magic, because the lady who actually gave birth to African Magic used to be my boss. We used to work together while I was at Red TV. And you know when the whole, and it's an interesting story, because I think I need to tell that story because it just gives a bit more clear insights into how this phenomenon happened. So the STV started, for people who had those boxes, way in 1993, 94, 95. I had when my dad used to work in advertising, so we had a box back then. And then there were like 6 channels. And then she used to say to them, then she was working in MNS South Africa, and she said to them, look, I think that we should do something, that we really reflects African culture. And they laughed at her, like, what's she talking about? What does she know? And then somehow, I'm talking about the 90s here. And somehow they were like, okay, what's next for us? We have all these super sports, we've got CNN, all that stuff. And said, okay, but hey, Bola, this is Bola, by the way, for people who know. And she said, look, that stuff you were talking about, can we take a look? What she had done was she had spoken to Zebe Jiru and all these other guys. Said, look, get ready. I've spoken to my people. But they had all their stuff ready to go. And then they said, okay, we'll give it a chance. Let's call it African Magic. And they put all that stuff. Now, that singular act created an entire phenomenon, with the epics. And that's why today on African Magic, we're so glued, because those things moved on to, satellite provider, and for years upon years became the staple diet for Nigerian movie consumption, as it were, because it became a phenomenon. And then we've come to the 2000s where we had individual, what Vanessa was talking about, comics who did physical comedy, or Sophia, Sam Loco. We had the phenomenon of Sophia in London, Sam Loco, and then Aki and Popo. That phenomenon, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, and then and then down to the streaming age when we were talking about wedding party. And so I think that, to answer the question, I think that Nigerians are really drawn to the genre with a little bit of soap opera, and then with the advent of comedy. So that mix, if you like, is what Nigerians want. They want to see something. They want to essentially see themselves on screen, their everyday life portrayed with all the saga, with all the intrigues, and then something great and hilarious to laugh about it. So that's my perspective on it. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Obina. And yes, I do agree. And I think, sorry guys, I didn't know we had requests. Sometimes it's hard to keep count. Um, yeah, so I do agree. I think a lot of our genres, a lot of the stuff that works for Nollywood is rooted in that soap opera beginning and that telenovela at the beginning. We love melodrama, and I don't think we should let melodrama go. Um, Elizabeth is here. Welcome, Elizabeth. In your opinion, what are some of the best Nollywood genres, or the best if you have one?
I think, sorry, I've not been following the conversation. I actually just joined. But if I were to define what the Nollywood genres are, my favorites would be. I'm tempted to say the family genre, but the truth is, it's actually cyclical. It's whatever is popping and is relatable to the audience in that moment. As everyone has said, we like melodrama, but I think at the heart of it is we like stories we like human stories. Let me just couch it like that. So people want to see something they relate to, or something they've heard somewhere before, or something that is a phenomenon. So just something that can tug at their heartstrings. My favorite would be um, there's this I really like the Wicked Uncle. I really like the drama around the wicked uncle or wicked someone somewhere sending someone out. I don't know why I like it, but I think at the heart of it is that it shows so many things. I mean, we see there's an obvious villain, always obvious villain, and it's predictable. At the same time, it's something that gets the crowd going in the sense that it's a conversation starter. We don't have a lot of that. Honestly, we actually do not have a lot of that. I mean, everybody has said that they would be doing romance, which is not wrong. It's not bad or wrong, because almost all those stories too used to have a hint of romance in them. But I really like that time where, let's say during that Dead Died Wretched, I remember Died Wretched. It was so popular, and not just that, it was also talking point to the extent that people were talking about it in churches and stuff. And I always think about how the kind of stories that we tell resonate with people and also travel, because these stories are not also boxed within Nigeria. We have people in the diaspora, not even the diaspora, we have people actually outside the country. Similar story with when we started doing, when Wale Adenuga started doing Super Story, Suaradi, oh daughter, oh father, oh daughter, what? It was something similar like that. It was Suara was supposed to be like the good guy, and then he became the villain, and then the good guy, and then still the villain again. So I like that sometimes the characters are not exactly clear cut. You're basically Suara was the anti-hero. You're not exactly sure if he is the villain of his own story and also the hero and also the villain. There were phases to it. So I think that would be my favorite. Just the stories that get the crowd going. I mean, unite everybody every 8 o'clock in the evening. Everyone talks about it in school. I mean, maybe that era is past, but I would say that's a very unique. I won't use the word unique because other countries have similar, but it's unique to Nigeria in the sense that if you see that kind of storyline, you know that you're watching Hollywood. And I really wish that, we didn't exactly want to be doing Z lists Hollywood stories now. And we can always modify it to still be something. I mean, we have so many industries. There are lots of stories that are very unique. Like if I'm watching a Turkish film, I know that it's Turkish because of kind of storyline. If I was watching Spanish, I would know that it's Spanish. And sometimes you see the elements, especially from the environment, that shows up in film, and you can always still relate to because the stories cross borders. So that's it for me.
Thank you. So I think we've kind of whittled it down to kind of a fine, you know, thing about what the best genres are in the perspective of the audience, that is, and from an export point of view and what works for the industry. So I've whittled it down to about three, and they all kind of start at the root of drama, and then if that's an epic or a family drama, or even a soap opera with melodrama, that works for Nollywood. We also have comedy as something that works for Nollywood, or used to work for Nollywood. I don't know how much it works for us now, but a specific type of comedy that worked for the industry. So we've kind of whittled it down to drama and comedy, which, to be honest, gives us a lot of room for the addition of multiple subgenres to create diversity in the kind of films and TV shows that we're making. But they still have to have that root of drama and comedy for it to work as a Nollywood film or TV show, I guess. So we're gonna move on to the things that don't work for us as an industry. What are some of the worst Nollywood genres? Who wants to give it a start? Lana?
Sorry, I would like to take second seat on this.
I love how you're just backing away. Uchenna. Oh, sorry guys, there is an order, but I was asking Olana because she has a tendency to shy away. Uchenna, can you please tell us your thoughts on what the worst Nollywood genres are?
Well, I think that action movies typically don't work because I think that action foreign.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that. That's a bit muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I said I think action movies tend not to work, not because I think that action is inherently foreign to Nigeria, but because Nollywood filmmakers tend to really not understand the action genre. They don't understand the tropes of it. They don't understand the aesthetics of it. They don't understand the rhythms of it. So they usually fall flat. Usually they end up trying to impress the audience with the scale of the special effects, but they don't understand that action scenes kind of like scenes. They have to have a choreographed beauty to them, and you rarely see that. So I think action movies are probably the main thing that just haven't been working.
Thank you, and I agree. Olana, have you got a minute to come together with your thoughts? Okay.
No, not yet. I'll raise my hand when I do.
Wonderful. So I guess we have M.
I'm just gonna second the person who mentioned musicals. Yeah, I don't think we have a. Let me think about it. But yeah, I don't think we have a single. According to the genre, this is a musical, Nollywood musical. I think. But I also have recency bias. I really can only think about our attempts recently. I don't think we have a single one.
No, wait, now there was this one. Was it not from one of the Royal Arts Academy sisters? There was one particular one musical
There was
by.
one with Iniedo. There was
Knocking
even one
something.
that
The one
had
where
Hey,
she was,
Maumi.
the one where she was dancing,
no,
right?
no. It's musical. I'm trying to remember.
The
There was
one
one with
knocking,
Adesua.
knocking on yeah, Ariswa.
I think the other
No,
one was Ayama.
Ayama was also lovely. Ayama was nice. I didn't hate Ayama.
Yeah, the story for Ayama was fantastic. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Was it a musical though? That's where the question
Well,
is, right?
I
Uh-huh.
mean, sure. I mean, sure. There was also the one with Kehinde Bankole and somebody else. I'm trying to remember that one as well.
Candy
Was
and
that is it
And
Bisola, but that's
Superstars?
Biodun,
Bisola.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have. I'm
Really?
sorry.
I don't think these things are musicals. These,
They're not. They're
these
really
are
not.
dramas
They're
that are
not,
about the
yes.
Oh,
music
I
industry or
do.
something. But I think we don't have musicals because we don't have the music. Like, I mean, that's not even just
Yeah.
a specifically a Nigerian thing. Modern music modern popular music does not lend itself to musicals. As popular as
No.
Nigerian music is right now, I don't think an Afrobeats musical really has legs. It just doesn't. They don't have the melodic and the arrangement
I
structure.
just think they are not
I don't
interested
think
in doing
so.
it because,
I
You
also
know what
find
I
this very
think? You know what?
interesting,
and
guys.
I think musicals can be quite expensive also because
No, but
like probably I would have to go to a
let's leave the
studio and you have to
expensiveness.
like
Let's even leave
maybe
the
double expenses or
expensiveness.
something.
I really think that I think it's a thing of phases. I wouldn't. We attempted this once, and I don't even know if the word to use is attempted because during the old traveling theater period, it was a lot of singing, right? Which is even rooted in most of our art or how we started all the griots, how we started our
Mm-hmm.
film journey, right? It's often through music. If you look at most ethnic storytelling formats, right? Everything is music. If you were younger and they were telling you folklore, you will sing right at the end or in the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we did start something like that, and then the Indian films were also really popular in the 70s, 80s, and the cinemas in Nigeria. And we also have we had filmmakers who also tend towards that. I know that Ade Love had a couple of films that really like it was almost always films. I by the 90s we had it had slimmed down. The number of people who were singing in films had gotten really slim, and it was relegated to, let's say, I know that the Hausa industry was also still singing, but the
Mm-hmm.
ones I was familiar with the Yoruba film industry, I know that we had Yemi My Lover, we had this Thompson guy, and then at some points Ogungbe Segun Ogungbe, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it just didn't take off.
No, it didn't catch
Yeah, I
legs.
think it didn't really catch because some of these, and again, because it was niche, some of these songs go on to be popular on radio. And I don't know why it didn't catch because I can still think of some Nollywood films from the 90s that could have even been that
There
we
are
could have
many.
been
There
musicals that could
did,
have
the
that
day
could
we're
have
having
been
that whole
musicals or should have
singing.
been.
Me, I
The day
just
we were
want
having
to.
that whole singing thing, there were a lot of songs that I sang that it was like came from musicals. I don't know if Tears in Heaven counts as a musical. It probably doesn't,
Oh
but
yes,
we
yes, it
had a
probably
lot
does.
of original songs from Tears in Heaven. I count that as a musical, though, in my head. I mean, there was also that one that Chioma Chukura had with that guy. I forgot, the one that they sing, Dinta wo, Dinta. He had an album, by the way.
So,
So
guys,
I wouldn't count it as a musical, but
no,
I think
and
we
then
just
no.
there
got
was
lazy and we don't know how to incorporate this. I
That's
think
our
direction is also a
fundamental
exactly.
problem.
problem. That's where me I was coming. Fundamental
Direction.
problem. Ni
Yeah.
They're just
laziness.
lazy.
We are not committed. We might start off wanting
Exactly.
to shoot a musical, and they start off halfway through. Everybody is tired. Mo fẹ́ ṣe mọ́, and
Or
it kind of devolves
And
into.
you know what her
Vanessa, can
girl
I say
thing?
that? Could this also be that? Because the points are valid around, not being able to focus because, they don't have the capacity to do it. But could it also be that there's some sort of audience intelligence around, like, would people really like it? Is maybe it's something that they feel hasn't worked and then it informs, becomes a strategy. Could that,
They didn't even give us an opportunity. Like
I'm Nigerian. I love musicals. I always love
but yeah,
musicals
it's
musicals.
too. I
subsets
love
of a few
musicals.
Always.
people, my
So
dear.
I watched the
it's
latest
Do you,
one
do
like
you
it's
five
think,
not a
times.
set of
look, let me ask you a question. If we did a
people.
poll, if we did a poll on this group, right?
Saying?
If you
No,
did a
no,
poll
Obina,
and
what
you
are you saying? There's a huge amount of, the world even go to soft operas, they go to
mm,
musicals, they go to, it's even the audience that are attached to musicals are standing. People who are in love with musicals. So I don't,
so
No, I
you know
think
what
your
I
you
point
think?
might
I
be
for
think it
me,
right.
may
I
see.
think
I agree with you, but
MSC,
I
I
think it
think
may
there
be
is
a
an
skewed worldview
argument.
because if we did a poll, I wish we could do one. On this group, how many people would watch a musical? You might be shocked at the results. This is what I'm saying.
I think
I'm
there
just
is
asking
no.
a
I think
question.
It's
there is an
Like, do
also
we start
because
argument
we've
that
not
subscribing
I
to
would
watched
what
it
watch
in
a
a
shows
while.
us that
musical.
we have more people who would like to watch a Nigerian musical? It's just a question. No?
However, Obina, while I see your point of view, I would
Yeah.
like to point out to you what was this most recent one that had Nancy Sime and
Yeah.
the
Obaram.
cavemen.
oh,
Obaram.
I was
Obaram.
going to speak on that. I was
Obaram.
going
So
to
Yeah.
speak on that
the
because,
problem is
girl.
I don't think it
I
is.
couldn't get past 10 minutes. I'm sorry. I
Thank
couldn't.
you.
No,
I
the
know it's
reason
not.
I
I know
know.
it's not. I'm sorry. And Kyle is my
Sorry,
guy.
So I
MSG.
have some. I have
MSG.
something. I have something to say, but I'm gonna
MSG,
mute my
hold
mic
on.
Go
MSG,
ahead,
hold
please.
on.
that.
MSG, please. I think this is, and I think like with most things with Nollywood, it is a case of, is this the chicken before the egg or the egg before the chicken? Because in a lot of times, the filmmakers and the people like to say, oh, the audience doesn't want this. Is it that the audience doesn't want it? Or is it that when the audience was open to giving this specific type of something a chance, you people mess it up? And then after that, the audience said we're not interested anymore. Because truth
Yeah,
be told,
Vanessa, I think it's a bit of. In fact, you're correct because here's the thing. The truth about it is that if we look at product development these days, people don't know what they want until you give it to them, and if it is good, they will take it. So I agree.
exactly.
It's not being done properly. They are not
Thank
doing
you.
that. This film we just mentioned as a clear case of how not to do a musical.
And I will tell you,
Yeah,
what was even more frustrating with Obaram is it's also let's take a sample size of the people on this call. There's many people on this call who have fond memories of films that had music in them
correct.
that we are trying to push into the category of a musical, even though we know in our heart of
It's
hearts
not.
it was not a musical, right? But then here comes Obaram with advertising that says, hey yo, listen up, this is gonna be a musical. It even gives us the legendary late Onyeka Onwenu. It gives us a band made up of, the one of the biggest rising groups, right? We have the cavemen in this.
Yep, cavemen.
Are there some people who are skeptical about the singing abilities of our lead? Perhaps. There some people who were skeptical about what's going on, sure, but there were people who were anxiously hopeful that this could be a good musical.
I was hopeful. I
Exactly.
was hopeful.
And
I
then
was.
people go in and 10 minutes in, they're like, God damn it, this sucks. And then you've broken down what little trust the audience originally had in giving this a chance. And it's all a
This is yeah,
mess.
correct. This is the challenge. This is the challenge. So I just think that I mean it's another alternative genre. I think that anybody who wants to make a musical has to do it properly. Find a lead or leads that can actually sing. Don't do this
And
overdub
act,
like
please.
and
Sing
act at
and
the same
act.
time, because once you don't do this miming thing properly and it's not because there are serious technicalities involved. It's such a
And also
technical
work with
thing.
composers who understand making music for
Exactly.
films.
So these are the issues. Yeah.
There's a bunch of things that come to play with a musical that is by and large missing in Nollywood. Oh, I have Olana Elizabeth hands up. They have
Oh
things
God,
to
please,
say.
my hand is up. God.
Olana.
Please, you guys don't understand. Musicals are they're very personal to me because I'm a lover of music and movies, but like I love two of them equally. So when I see a good musical, first of all, I don't know what Obaram was, but to God be the glory over that. Like first 10 minutes, I was like, I knew this was not going to work, whatever was going on. But what hurts me most about musicals not working in Nigeria is that it's not because of a lack of talent. Ladies and gentlemen, if nothing else, we have Chiki and we have Nonso Bass in this Nollywood thing. These people came from something. Now we have Ayola, they came from something. We have Bisola.
No, you're
Can't
correct.
you
You're
give me
correct.
a
You're correct.
movie
You're correct.
like can't you give me a movie where there are two brothers fighting over a girl and they are singing over
Yeah,
their
yeah.
fight or something? Give me
You're correct.
something. Come
Olana,
on,
see,
man.
the truth is this, and you are so correct. I'm friends with these guys. Look, I'm a composer myself. I'm very invested in music. I mean, I preach sing music every. But so let me explain from my producer's point, a Nigerian producer's point of view. So they are looking at a lot of things. a typical Nigerian producer is looking the quickest way to make my money back. That's my so all these other variables of okay, what is the story? What is it? Okay, I need to get X, I need to get X, I need to get a very popular actor, I need to get social media presence, I need to get my marketing right. So this is the problem which affects everything. The story development, as per okay, there's a problem with story development already. Now you're not adding the added dimension of a musical that is super technical, where you have to actually have a music director sit down and work out the lines and work out the performances in line with the music. Nobody has time for that. That is the truth. Because they have a clock. They've shot this film. It needs to make money. Are they going to stream it or not? You know, what numbers are they making at the cinema? So
They
they
don't
can.
even ask the audience these things. That's even like the least you can do is ask
See,
the
let
audience
me
what
even
do you
see
want to
another
see.
thing. Let's
They don't
even
It's
leave.
even
being
do
Let's
that.
able to do it,
let's even
you know,
leave.
and the willingness to
See,
do it.
wait.
Guys,
Let's even
let
leave
Elizabeth go.
asking. Let's even leave asking the audience, right? Let's talk about like Vanessa mentioned, chicken, egg, cart, horse. It's not even about what comes before. Like I said, a lot of our storytelling tradition is already rooted in musicals, in telling stories through music. That is already rooted in most of the ethnicities that exist in Nigeria. So let's even cut off that with the audience like it, please. Let's even shut that down. Because your audience gets acclimatized to what it is fed. To what
Correct,
it is
correct.
fed. It is when Kemi Adetiba wakes up now with another new genre tomorrow that other producers tomorrow will know that genre is popping. Let's go to the cinema. If somebody does not wake up to say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna stick my neck out, put this thing on the table, let's see if other people and again, story is so cyclical. A lot of all the story, nobody's telling new stories, please. Nobody is telling new stories. You're not bringing one story that's never been told. It's been told before. If I am at my big age remembering myself watching Yemi My Lover in 96, 97, and I can sing. I can't remember the last time I watched Yemi My Lover. It's also probably in the 90s, and I can sing every single song that Yemi was singing in that place with his colored, dressed like James Brown, and copying, mimicking, and running. And Moji was running on Third Milan Bridge and was running after her. And somebody stole the fish. He practically made a story about Splash. It was literally Splash, but the Yoruba version, but with music. And everybody bought that thing in their house. These guys were making a killing. He used to have King Sonny Ade in his films. He used to do stunts. He used to use that to sell films. And at that time they were making in millions, making 3 million, saying that they made like 10 million, 3 million. We're talking the 10 million in 96, also making 50 million,
That's a
which
lot
was
of
like
money, man.
a lot of money. These guys were making a killing before the whole piracy thing and people were selling his music and all of that. But we're talking about you do something. Your audience is none the wiser. They like it. They enjoy your music. A lot of films back there. A lot of people. We are talking about Stanley Okori now, and people can sing a lot of his songs back to back. Stanley Okori has had a resurgence off of TikTok. This music, they are timeless. Even though Stanley Okori was not doing, of course, probably did a couple of films that had some lot of music, but this is just OST. This is just original soundtrack,
Soundtracks, yeah.
which Mama G, he wrote for Mama G. She sang. He wrote for Nkem Owo's own album, and Inkem Owo sang it. We have Tadeo Gido that wrote some songs, copied some songs, made his actors in all of his film, put them together, made them sing, sold that album, made so much money off of it. The point is that music is a universal language, so it's impossible to say that the audience may not like it. It's laziness. If somebody has the money, has the gut, and another thing why I'm not even so bent off musical is a musical per Hollywood standard is often epic, is on the epic scale, right? It's production value and all of that razzmatazz. So we can say, oh, we didn't have money, but you can also do it the Yemi way now. Have your 2 or 3 lead sing, just be singing from beginning to the end. At least knocking on heaven's door. Had it with Majid and Adesua. They just sang their hearts throughout the song at some point, right? Low budget as it may be. So I don't think this conversation is even, oh, it's because of money. Well, every time it comes to production, oh, the audience don't like it, leave the audience alone. Imagine that the audience is tabula rasa. We know nothing. We're a clean slate. Give us what you have. And let's decide if we like it or not. Sorry, before we go on, I want to talk about one genre that does not work, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Ensemble. Ensemble as a genre. I know that ensemble is not a genre. I mean, it's probably there's romance, there's this, there's action, but ensemble, as you know, we've tried our
As a
hands
Nollywood
at it
concept.
as a Nollywood concept. As we can see, story is whooping our behind, like is kicking story is jacking us by the shirt, pulling us up, and giving us the beating of our lives. Every single time we have a film that now has more than 6 popular faces, we're in trouble.
6 is too
To
much,
get
more than
a
4.
if to get a coherent, I'm telling, because it seems as though everybody is doing Jane Nwachukwu formats. And really, that's why I don't know why people were hustling Jane. Like, free that babes, ma, free my girl. Jane is giving you what you want. It's a sweatshop, 2 main lead, 2 supporting cast, 2 father and mother, end of story, everybody enter your house. Because we are so used to this watered down version of script writing, when we have story that involves not even 4 lives, so just 3 people inside, we flounder. Like, let's look at Lagos story, be Lagos love story or love Lagos story. One of those things, Sha. The Lagos, the love and the story. It was so incoherent. And this is not the first time. We also say it's in Chief that the second. I didn't watch that one though. We've seen
Elizabeth,
it in.
were you thinking of a Christmas in Lagos?
Oh, was that
It's
it?
Christmas in Lagos because
It
Lagos
I'm
was.
Love
I
sorry,
was
Story
like,
isn't
guys.
it
out
was the
yet.
Lagos love
I'm
story, man.
sorry.
It's
I'm
not
sorry,
out yet.
guys.
It's Christmas.
Oh, sorry. I know it's sorry. This thing is a lot. Is this thing about Lagos as a character and love as another character in there? I'm so sorry. I just can't keep up. I hope that the Lagos love story is better than Christmas in Lagos. Sorry for the what's that thing called? Defamation. If I've defamed that film that has not come out. But you get my point. The Christmas Kiniko, it just wasn't working. Even with they tried to chuck in low class romance there, and it was of recent I realized that that thing is masala wedding. Oh, there's this Indian film that had the low India film, like it was mainstream India film, not the melodramatic India film. Was it masala wedding, monsoon wedding? It was one of those
Wait, are you
things.
thinking the South African one?
No. I'm talking about, there's an India film that had a main character getting married, then a sub story about, there's a secondary story about about lower class, the house girl fall in love with the event planner guy who was also a low caste. Anyways, long story short, is that I just remember that that was what they were trying to do. Maybe that wasn't even know what they were trying to do. But anywho's, the point is, once we start introducing plenty characters and we think there should be major story, secondary story, another story somewhere, we just throw the script to the sky and pray to the gods. We just say, oh, ye gods of scripts, fix this in production. The story, we don't do ensemble. I don't know what it is. Maybe we should just stick to doing YouTube. One boy, one girl met at the car wash, and they finished the entire film in the sitting room. To God be this glory.
Yeah, just to quickly add to
Wow.
what you were saying, Elizabeth, well spoken. You know, back then, Stanley Okorie, Mike Niam, and what's this other guy who has passed away? What's his name? Elizabeth. This dude. They were like a trifecta of OSTs back then for Nollywood. So it was Mike Niam, Stanley Okoro, and this other guy who's passed away. I remember his name. I think for Olana, you know, who is a who's really in love with musicals. Emma Dosio, a young Nigerian filmmaker, you know, she's making a film called When Nigeria Happens, and it's a musical. So you can check that out. You know, maybe that's something that'll make it.
Sorry, is that the one
The dancers,
with
and they get
like
arrested.
some
There's a
people are
trailer that
dressed
is out.
as
It's
masquerades or something?
say again.
Is that
I can hear you.
All I
People
basically
dressed
saying
as
to God
masquerades.
be the glory.
Yeah, masquerades. Yeah. It's a story about dancers, and they having a
Okay,
run
with
with.
Sheon
Yes,
Ajayi
sure, yeah,
and
exactly. Shiwan Jai
Jide
is in it.
Okay, yeah. It's like, I thought the poster looked interesting.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
But
have
have you
to
seen the
see it in
trailer
my head.
though? Have you seen the trailer?
No, I haven't seen the trailer
Okay,
actually.
let's connect. I'll send it to you. So my friend Emma made that film,
Okay,
and it's a musical. So
okay.
I'm hopeful for that.
Thank you,
I
because
know it's
I
gonna.
really like the casting and I like
Yes, yes,
the
it's quite nice. So maybe
poster.
there's
So
some
yeah.
hope, and like what we've been saying. At the end of the day, there has to be an intentionality about making a good musical. And I think Elizabeth is spot on with analysis around. As long as if you make it well and it's done properly, people would consume it. People will consume it and people will engage with it.
Thanks, Obina. Okay, so we're gonna move on quickly, swiftly along. I didn't think this conversation would take us 2 hours, but here we are. We have yappers in the house. Um, Oyinkan, have you told us the genre you think doesn't work? Because I know you had some thoughts earlier. I think what are the worst Nollywood genres? And then Emezi, you will after Oyinkan, you will go.
I was just going to say the ones that are kind of the worst is, and this is just a general thing that goes against no matter what genre is. It's just the rampant, simple like copying without localization, and that's just it. It happens a lot in action movies. Uh, it's happening. Oh, it's happening in some of those romance movies with the nod character, and it's just that's just it. It's bad. It's really bad because there is no. I don't want to say there's no imagination, but there's no character to it. It's like, why should they watch your own when they can just watch their own, you know? And
Mm.
you understand their own better because there's always little cultural things that people within a culture will put in their heart, and people within that culture can see it. So why will I go and watch a nerd fix his eyeglasses 25,000 times in a foreign
My-
country that
Oh my God, the Nollywood Hollywood nerd trope.
so
Yeah, we
like
need to burn that. We need to burn that. We actually need to burn it to ashes. If I see F.I. Wara play another nerd who pushes his glasses
Ashes,
up
also
15
ashes.
times per
Yo,
second.
this is something else. The
I'll
fighting.
bring the fuel to burn the glasses.
Vanessa, leave my FAO.
I
Vanessa.
love Effa. I genuinely love Effa. Obin, I genuinely love Effa, but I can't take another nerd who pushes his glasses up 20 times in 5 seconds.
Why can't we have a glassless
Thank
nerd?
you. Why can't our nerd have gotten contacts? Don't nerds wear
Maybe
contact
just
lenses?
socially awkward, a little clumsy nerd. Fine, socially awkward nerd. Fine. Why must he have glasses?
Sorry. Why don't we have a nerd who hyperfixates on one hobby?
No, no, Vanessa, we're not going to have
Maybe
Meta Ray-Ban nerds now.
a
Don't worry.
history
Oh
nerd.
yeah, sorry now.
We're going to have
I'm
Meta
gonna
Ray-Ban nerds.
oh yeah, I'm on no vex. I'm gonna give it to Emezi and then Elizabeth, I'll come back to you.
Well, thank you. So I don't know if young adult films are a genre. I think they are young adult films.
Yeah,
Where
YA. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YA, it's a genre, right? That's the department Nigerians keep failing. And when they do try to make a young adult film, we have older people play young adults. And I just cannot stand it. There's this one they call, what's it called? Where we have like some big people in this film. I don't know the name
Far
of the
from
what's
home.
that's a oh my god, I hate that film. I don't care. I don't care. Anybody wants to eat from this place?
Oh
Come
no,
and
you
eat
know,
me.
you won't
It
find
was
hate in this
really
particular
it
space.
was
Don't
really
hate
it
in this
was it
particular
was really
space.
bad. I just could not. I cannot stand it. And it's that bad because I was watching it with my niece, right? She's I don't know, we were watching it together, and she said, why are these?" She made so when I was watching. So I'm so used to Nollywood always playing 419 with their audience, not giving us what we want. So I was watching it, and my niece was with me, and she said, "Oh, these people, why are they still in school? They look old." And for a young person to just say I was just like, oh, I never really saw that. I mean, I saw it, but I was like, okay, it's Nollywood. We are used to this. This is the normal. But it's so sad. It's just completely sad. And we see how they take this behavior to other space, like when they try to attend cartoons, right? Um, we get older people voicing cartoons for Nollywood, Nollywood cartoons. We don't get young people on screen. It's really sad. I think that's the department they keep failing at, and I just don't understand because that department, if you look at around the world, it's selling so good. We have Stranger Things, we have you name it. There's so many young people on screen, but for some weird reasons, Nollywood they are not giving space to young people to just be on screen and shows what they got. So that's the
Again,
department they keep failing at.
I agree with you, MSD.
Can I defend?
No, Olana, you can't defend because me, I'm going to come at them now. Thank you very much. I understand. Sorry, I just have to. Sorry, I'm quite passionate about the YA genre, and it do quite upset me. I think, there is the argument for child labor laws, and how much children can do while working in films, and so they have to cast people of a certain age to play young people to fulfill all righteousness with labor laws and spending time on set and all yada 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 boom kaka. However, these the stories that are being told are not YA, and again, it's that lack of commitment and a laziness that comes with how Nollywood approaches certain things. That same laziness in the way that they approach um musicals is the same laziness that's with which they approach YA. And a big culprit is Far From Home. Is Far From Home. That is the biggest culprit of them
Yes, I
all.
agree on that part.
The biggest
But I would
culprit.
like to
Sorry,
defend.
everybody. If you know me, you know that I genuinely have beef with Far From Home. Everyone involved in the making of said film, of said series, before they choke my throat and say I don't know the difference between film and series. With the limited series, everyone involved with Far From Home, if I can gather all of you and line you up and give you strokes of the cane, I would, because such nonsense should not repeat itself again. I think there's a disdain that Nollywood filmmakers have for telling young people's stories and young people's struggles. And I said this on the Far From Home space. A show that's supposed to be about young people, and all of a sudden we have a criminal underworld and supposedly a young girl who we're not sure how old she is. There's all of that, and that's why a young person watching the show will ask, how are these people supposed to be in school? Because we don't even know how old these people are. And somehow this babe all of a sudden, who was crying because her boyfriend wanted to go to Mama Charlie's country, all of a sudden becomes the girlfriend of a criminal underworld boss. How old is she? How old is him, her former boyfriend? Why is he now going into the supposedly after secondary pre-university prep school? Like, it's all just a mess. And the subject matter has nothing to do with what young people's struggles are. We're having side characters that have no bearing on this. Just a whole bunch of nonsense. And I know Olana's argument is going to say there's some shows on YouTube. Um,
God bless
I know
you.
you, not
Not
be you.
necessarily. God bless you, because I was actually that my argument was just that okay. We do have some
I
shows.
kukuma, not be
We
you
also have
again.
actors, because I feel like one of the things that failed with Far From Home was maybe the
How
casting.
many of the
But there
actors,
are,
please, on because you people.
sorry, we have to.
Okay, thank you, Alana, because I was going to talk you say, "Pay how many people?" Because you cannot
We
be saying
have
Clint.
to, but we can find more. Come
You
on
cannot say
now, we can
Clinton
find more.
Joshua
Let's
and the
even take
rest.
look. I can even forgive the actors. I really
We
mean
can
it.
find more
I
now.
can forgive the actors if the idea is that this YA is actually not for YA, it's for adults.
Oh,
Jigo, there are some
oh.
films that are not for young people, they're actually adults, and that's why they often try to get adults to film these scenes. Okay, like when they were doing that their film, that guy's film, what's his name? That guy with that series now that did sorry, I can't remember his name. My brain is fried.
Is this
This
Nollywood or
you
abroad?
Which guy?
abroad Euphoria.
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 You have a show
Jacob.
like Euphoria whose director producer whatever I have beef with eternally.
Sam Levinson, I have said
Yeah.
beef with you. My beef,
So
God self, is bigger than your beef.
so you have a show like that that is hardly about young
it is about young people, but the audience is not young people, even though young people are watching it. And it says, oh no, I'm not doing the show for young people. So you can see why it would cast, people in 23, 23, 24. Because if my picking they do that kind of thing for school, I will carry broom. But anyways, I can forgive that if that was the direction far away from the house was going. But that film was shot twice, according to Nollywood legend. That sorry, I know the difference between film too. You guys are here. It's just colloquial now. Before you would go and drag my name on the timeline. That show was shot twice. So for you to know that, yeah, maybe story direction took does not exist. So for Nigerian YA, the Lord will support everybody. But I have got to say my point before I go, and I want to talk about the Nigerian nerd. Um, the Nigerian nerd, I don't know if the word is nerd, but if I think usually what we try to do is we want to show a guy that is really shy or is socially awkward, and we end up writing the person as an idiot. I really don't know what goes on in the head of writers. Is this person what's this person's character? If he's an idiot, fine, I can work with an idiot. Just obviously be an idiot, right? And hope to get that the audience somehow like your idiots that you have written. But you can't write somebody and say, oh, this person is nerd. Half of the time, the writer imagines this character to be socially awkward or socially inept and just shy. If this person is socially inept and shy, they can't be an idiot because it is not much. It's not one. It's not the Venn diagram does not enter each other. You really cannot say that this person is an idiot and I'm supposed to root for them. So I would say that the best one I have seen would be this film, The Grill. Um, Latif's character in The Grill was obviously socially inept, but he was not an idiot, right? The guy was he knows what he knows what he knows. That's one. He stands his ground when he has to. It just flounders in public, right? He just did not know how to tell the girl that he likes her. But out every other thing, this character was a smart character. He was funny, and he was only inept with her. He was sharp with his friend. He was firm with his friend. He was firm with his dad. He was sharp with every other time. He's not floundering. It's just that when he's near her, and that is characterization because that is how. I mean, I'm sure that humans we exist in different ways, but you can't say this character is socially inept and shy, and then you make them even an idiot at home. Please, now, don't you people have people in your
Sorry,
house?
please. Can I actually mention a character? I don't know if he was written as a nerd, but he kind of gave this character Chimezi's character in Breath of Life was kind of
I don't know. Just yeah. I think for him, I don't know. I'm sorry, Olana. I won't. I sorry because I also have beef with that film. In the fact that the character development of almost all the characters was incomplete.
Nonsense. Was
It was
nonsense.
incomplete. It was even
I
incomplete
agree. I agree with
because
you.
look at Chimeze's character. We can see that that story is supposed to be somebody who set out to make something of himself, right? And he got to this man. The man chased him a couple of times. Honestly, I really don't know what's going on with that character. Even me, I'm
Yeah, I
trying to
don't think that
understand that
character
character.
deserves to be called a nerd because I don't think he ever was a nerd. He was just beaten into submission by
Yeah, we don't know
Wale
what's going on
Odo's
with that
bad
character.
behavior. I
It
don't
wasn't.
I don't
You're right.
it was like just kind of socially awkward.
I don't know if he was really
Was
socially
he?
awkward.
Was he even socially
Yeah,
awkward? I think he was just awkward with the girl.
but was even
You
fast with
know.
herself.
Oh ho, thank you.
Compared
Was
with the
he?
character, Latin's character from the group.
Was he?
All right. I think M has had her hand up a couple times. M, any more thoughts? Hello.
Away. Maybe she's away.
Okay, because I was like, can anybody hear M? I know Elon has been messing around with me, so perhaps other people can hear M. While we wait for MSE, you have thoughts?
Yeah, it's about the characterization thing, right? I feel, I don't know. I honestly, so I have finally accepted that Nigeria is a place that unreal things happen. It's not, we are not a country of ideological, I'm not saying we don't have sense, but we are people who, anything can happen, it's possible. So when they bring that to our screen, yeah, well, I've learned to accept that fact. But Olana and I don't know who was speaking about, because I was doing something, I was not close to my device, about the characterization about nerd and the rest. And then the thing about how somebody can be awkwardly shy and they're at home, they are just loud. That's characterization, right? They follow. I think the problem with this, and that's why we have problem with genre, and that's why our genres always keeps it's always stepping out of line. We don't maintain it. I just it's just I won't call it greed, because it's not even greed. You know how all of a sudden we have the nice girl. It's just all over the place, and that's why they do. I feel if we I think most of the times, people who write this script, they don't imagine vast life for these characters. Some things you imagine should not go on screen. Like, you have to think about this person to the point of what they eat, what they like. These characters into anime. What are those very small traits, right? I think that's part of the problem. Our screenwriters, they don't think hard enough about characters and what should not go on screen, but should be. They should share it with whoever is playing those characters. I think when we have that all figured out, our genre would sort of like this battlefield with genre
But
is not
it
going
makes you wonder, because if
to.
you're writing a real person, there are real persons that embody certain characters, and maybe you could even write a character like, because I was in a hostel for a very long time, so there are certain characters that when I'm writing a character, I have someone already in mind, someone that is exactly like that. So is it that there is not enough interaction with other people to build a character on an actual person?
It is consistency, Olana. Consistency, like
Thank you,
if your
thank you.
character is the sort to drink water with left hand, and you have set it that there's a reason they drink water with left hand, because they want to be able to slap somebody with the right hand, you have to continue in that manner. Do you understand? You can't now introduce this person drinking water with
And
right hand from nowhere.
exactly.
And
Okay, I
Elizabeth,
get
right?
it.
And Elizabeth, there's something I think there's something I want to say. There's just too much pressure with. So let's say a character loves cartoon and anime, right? And somehow those things meet, like they found themselves on the screen. We necessarily don't have to make it why it can be integrated in the story. It necessarily don't have to be all about the story. It can just be a slice. I know there are films I've seen and watched, and I know that this character like this. But it doesn't have to be the story. But we know this character is into this. It makes the person more human. So let's say, for instance, they're talking to a girl, and somehow they find out that her backpack, there's a chain, a cartoon chain or something in the backpack, and he just said, "Oh my, I am into this," and then interaction starts. But you don't have to build so much on that. You can just give us a slice of life and let it go. But then when it calls, that's how you play around with characters. You just give us a human feel to these people, and that's what I was going to say about that opera, that musical they released. Because I really love musicals, right? So when you look at musicals, so that film, I feel, what was it? I think someone left and somebody was trying to be a musician. Why must it be a musician? Why can't it just be a story? Someone said two boys in love with a girl. So with musicals, they don't necessarily, they are not aware their music. I don't know how to say this. When I watch a musical, it's 90.9% of the times this whatever this musical interaction is going, it's happening in their head. It's not real. So it's part of the story, but it's not part of the story. And we as the audience, we get it because it's all in your head. You are singing, you are dancing, all of a sudden you are back to reality. It shouldn't be, it necessarily doesn't have to be part of the story. So I don't know why every single time Nollywood try to attend musical. Somehow, somebody's a musician, somebody's into music, somebody wants to do music so badly, somebody's into, it doesn't make any sense. That's not how, I know there are some musicals that have those sort of, stories, but that's not all musicals are all about, right? And that's what I was going to say about musical. It necessarily don't have to be a big part of the story, but still it has to be there. And I know it's a difficult task, but people have put it up. Even in Indian films, right? Bollywood that's just so ridiculous. We cannot stand that musical. Somehow we still dance to them. We get it. It's a long ass news story about music, but it's a long musical thing going on. But still we get it. We love it, we enjoy it, and the story continues. It somehow is, but it's not so much about the story, if that makes any sense. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Emezi. I never clowned Bollywood. If anybody knows me, I'm a Bollywood star. I listen to Bollywood music in my spare time while I work. Yeah, so wonderful stuff. So guys, I think we're coming to the end of this space. I didn't think we'd do 2 hours, but look at us. We've kind of come to a consensus of things that we know, genres that we know don't work for Nollywood. We've somehow musicals don't work, action doesn't work because 90% of the time our action films feel like they are a transplant from a completely different industry, and Nollywood doesn't seem to understand the rhythm and choreography that is necessary for an action film and how to make it feel Nigerian while still maintaining some of the tenets of action film storytelling. We also said musicals because for the many reasons that MSC mentioned in her impassioned speech, along with other people's thoughts on musicals. Another thought was on the ensemble. And while that might not seem like a genre, our ensemble films are horrible, guys. 90% of the time, a lot of the cast only have 2 seconds to show up on screen and still don't make any impact, doesn't have any effect on the storytelling. Our ensemble films suck. What else was another genre? Well, it wasn't a genre, but more of a trope that doesn't work very much for Nollywood is the socially inept slash geek slash nerd character and how we tell those stories. Ooh, another genre that doesn't work, which was what led to the conversation about the nerd, was the YA genre and how Nollywood chooses to tell young adult stories. So we've had a fantastic conversation tonight. We've talked about what Nollywood genres are, how our industry genre blends, and how that is absolutely fine and works for Nollywood. We've also had the conversation about some of the best genres that work for us as an industry and have always worked for us as an industry and should continue to work for us as an industry. Drama, comedy, and some of our epics. We've also had a conversation about the genres that don't work for us, some of the worst genres, stuff that we are so far incapable of. What is the word I'm looking for? Able to lurimi. Um, executing. That's the English I'm looking for. Some genres that we find difficulty with executing. Um, Thank you all so much for coming to speak on this. Oh, Olana is requesting. Sorry, I didn't even know Olana had dropped at some point. Um, Thank you all so much for having this conversation with us. This was a fantastic 2 hours well spent. Um, and thank you for letting me be your host, even though Elon has been playing many games with me today. We will be back same time next week, 6 p.m. Watts. I don't know what we're doing next week. I don't also think that the C's will be back. So I just may be back here next week, depending on what the situation is. Maybe my cool will extend until next week. But during the week, we will let you know if we are discussing a film or if we're going to discuss another Nollywood topic. But thank you all so much and see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at Iroko Critic and join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.